Dr. Andrew Weissman and Dr. Katalin Karikó are considered pioneers of mRNA technology because of the work they did at the University of Pennsylvania Medical School starting decades ago in the 1990s.
For the most part, people didn't want to use RNA. It's very fragile, it's tough to work with. So we had a lot of doubters who just weren't interested in the research we were doing. We ignored them. We had aha moments along the entire process. The RNA that we developed had enormous potential. We just never gave up.
We always looked through the window and could see the hospital and the patient there and just asked this question that how this will get there.
Dr. Karikó's journey begins in her native Hungary in 1978 when she starts investigating RNA, not as a vaccine to prevent illness, but as a therapeutic to treat disease.
We were behind the Iron Curtain, so everything was much more difficult to perform, and then there were money shortages.
Frustrated by the lack of resources, she and her family leave their homeland in 1985 with $1,200 stuffed into her toddler's teddy bear.
When we went to the airport, we kept our eye on our daughter and valuable teddy bear just to make sure that we have both of them with us when we arrive.
Dr. Karikó moves to Philadelphia, eventually becoming a senior research investigator at the University of Pennsylvania.
I moved to Penn in '97, and back then, the only way to read a journal was to photocopy it. So Katie and I used to fight over the photocopy machine.
I kind of bragged. I like to brag, and I knew that he's the new guy, so I introduced myself and told him that, I work with RNA. I can make everything.
She was an RNA molecular biologist who tried to make RNA therapeutics. I was an immunologist who worked on vaccines.
Those chance meetings at the copy machine would transform the way vaccines are developed.
Katie and I formed a perfect union of science. We both had skills that the other needed. I believe neither of us would have accomplished anything if we hadn't met and we hadn't started working together.
There was a problem, though. RNA is inflammatory.
When injected into mice, untreated synthetic RNA can cause fatal inflammation because the immune system sees it as an invader.
So Katie and I studied what made RNA inflammatory and then how to get rid of that inflammation.
With some chemical modification, the pair figures out a method that allows the mRNA to be safely injected into the cells, an adjustment that would help convince the skeptics that mRNA had the potential to revolutionize vaccines.
It is so empowering that I can do that.
Dr. Weissman and Dr. Karikó's work will eventually become the basis of the Moderna and Pfizer-BioNTech vaccines. They have been suggested for the Nobel Prize.
We didn't let them stop us from what we wanted to do.
I tracked the development of mRNA as a means of making vaccines for a couple of decades. The idea of being able to do this really quickly had been an appeal all along. This is the kind of thing that people should be able to put their trust in.
January 21st, 2020. COVID-19 officially reaches American shores.
I was monitoring what was happening in different countries. What are you seeing, and what can we do here in the United States to prepare ourselves for the potential, surge of cases?
While scientists are intensely focused on developing vaccines for the coronavirus, most Americans do not yet realize that a pandemic is about to transform their world.
In the United States, in January, people weren't paying a whole lot of attention to this pneumonia in China. It just seemed very far away, and they couldn't hurt us.
But that is about to change. Soon, the U.S. is locked into a cycle of shutdowns, layoffs, and deaths.
There's a lot of good science that had been warning us that this was going to be happening, so we were really caught underprepared.